If the police hadn't badgered him into pleading guilty at 14 to something he didn't do, he wouldn't have been before the court. If the sentencing judge had done her job, his record would have been expunged upon completion of the required program. If his record had been expunged, he wouldn't have been held responsible over and over ex post facto. If his record had been expunged, the ex post facto laws written after his sentence was completed would not have strapped him with a registration that precedent-setting legal case law says is illegal in the state of Michigan. Constitutional law says that what the state of Michigan has done to him is illegal. He never would have gotten failure to register charges. He would have been able to find employment instead of being treated like a leper and refused hire. He would have been able to find housing instead of being treated like a leper and refused housing. He would not have been put by the state's illegal laws into desperate situations where he had to feel hopeless over and over, live on the streets, eat out of garbages, stay in abandoned houses, or feel the kind of desperation one feels when they contemplate committing crimes or drinking or doing drugs. He wouldn't have felt the social stigma of flyers passed out at neighbors' doors. He wouldn't have been looked at sideways as though he were a current danger to society for something he was sentenced and did time for over 25 years ago. He wouldn't have felt the extreme lack of self-worth that comes with being a grown man, a father, a partner, unable to provide for his family, unable to secure employment, unable to secure housing. In our society, a man's self-worth as a husband and father are directly related to their ability to provide. Men who are blacklisted from society and unable to provide for their families via legitimate means get depressed. They want to kill themselves. They feel worthless. They have to hide their pasts just in order to gain the most simple of resources and opportunities. They feel like pieces of shit every day of their lives. They wear scarlet letters that might as well be tattooed to their foreheads. This is what the man I am in love with has had to deal with since he was a child. He is a good man. I trust him with my life and the lives of my children. We have had our problems. And yes, he did commit several acts of domestic violence against me. And I can tell you with certainty that had we not been constantly plagued by the illegal state laws of Michigan, we would not have argued or had the issues we had that led to the instances of domestic violence. It is hard to be a successful couple when you cannot ever maintain housing or employment. It is hard to be a successful parent when every avenue you turn to is a dead end. It is hard to be an upstanding citizen that can walk tall and proud when one is made to be a pariah, shamed for something automatically, even if one hasn't even committed the actual crime, when one has to live with the extreme pressure of courts and being monitored and not being eligible for any programs because of a record. I never cared whether he actually committed the crime or not. He was a child. A child. He spent his childhood in foster care, and I cannot even go into the horrors he experienced, both with his biological family and the 58 different foster families he went through, just fighting to get back to his mother. A mother who was not there for him at all while he was being questioned for 28 hours by police, not there for him as he was pressured to give them answers. I cannot imagine the pain and embarrassment he must have felt to be in a program and forced to act things out on life-size dolls that he didn't even do. I cannot imagine the hopelessness and frustration he must have experienced in juvenile lockup when he insisted and insisted and insisted and insisted that he did not commit this crime, and yet was told, fake it till you make it. Was told that if he did not admit guilt, he would not complete the program and would not be released. I cannot imagine the frustration of knowing you must do their little dance in order to just get through it to the other side. I cannot imagine the nightmare he must have felt he was in to go through a program and do their little dance, thinking once he's graduated, he will at least have the relief of expungement. And I cannot fathom the grief he felt, finding out the new laws they were holding him to for something he insisted vehemently that he didn't do, and has insisted the entire time I've known him, which is almost 20 years. Plastered all over the news. I cannot fathom the grief he felt, finding out the new laws they were holding him to for something he insisted vehemently that he didn't do, and that the nightmare he went through just to get there would never, ever be over, because it was nothing but double, triple, quadruple jeopardy for him. I cannot imagine what he must feel now, sitting in a cell charged once again with things he didn't do, plastered all over the news, and made out to be a monster, while no one cares and everyone judges and treats him like he has the plague without even knowing any of his background or anything he's been through. Being held down and fucked over by a system more times than he can count, hoping and praying for a relief from judgment that he cannot even get, because he is never out of lockup long enough to find employment. Of course, no one wants to hire him, to hire an attorney, to challenge these chains that bind him so tightly and make him a leper to society. But I know who he is. He is a good father, a conscientious partner, and a dear friend. He is a battle-worn soldier who has never had the opportunity to feel whole self-worth, to feel confidence walking in the world, to feel accepted without having to guard the truth of his past so carefully. And I remember after he got out, when we were pregnant with my first child with him, I was pregnant, and we went to apply for a credit card to be able to get things for our son while I was pregnant. And he found out that his mother had been using his credit the entire time he was in lockup, from a juvenile into an adult. He was on parole at the time. As a matter of fact, he confronted her about using his credit because she had racked up over $10,000. And when he approached her to tell her that he was going to try and press charges against her for fraud, for using his social security number and his name while he was in lockup, she took him to the bar, got him drunk, and then called his parole officer, which was waiting at the house for him to lock him back up so that he could not press charges against her for what she did to him. This man has been screwed from every single angle imaginable. He never had anybody till he met me. And in March 4th, it will be 19 years since the day I met him. I fell in love with him immediately. I did not know his record. I did not know he was on the run. And when I found out that he was on the run, he told me the charge that he was up against for failure to register. He said to me, "I'm not going to register for something that I didn't do." And I said, "Well, it doesn't really matter if you did it or not. You pled guilty to the charge, and now you have to do what it is that they say that you have to do, or you will never see the light of day again." I knew him for 2 months before he turned himself in so that we could be together, because I had a child, Samantha, who's now 21, and she'll tell you straight out, she's called him dad since she was 2 years old, and she knows, and my children know, that he would never ever hurt any of them. I have been silent on this. I have been silent on this because people judge first and actually don't even look at the truth later. They don't give a fuck. They want to shoot him in the head. They want to shoot me in the head. Apparently our children should be plagued for the rest of their lives because of something that supposedly happened when he was 13 years old. It's not right. It's been almost 20 years since I met him. He should have been off the registry. Actually, if you go to try to look him up on the registry He's a juvenile offender. He doesn't even show up on the registry. And yet he still has to go, every time he's out, he still has to go every 3 months to the police station and tell them the size, smell, look, and frequency of his bowel movements just in order to stay free. And they put him on a tether, the MDOC did. They put him on a tether in the halfway house at Operation Get Down, and the stupid thing would not stop going off. His ankle bracelet would not stop going off. It kept going and going and going. And he had to hang his leg out the window in order to make it stop. And he had to keep calling the MDOC saying, no, I'm not violated. I'm still right here in the building. How must it feel to have a parole officer tell you, I'm going to violate you? And then tell him that he can't even go to a class that if he doesn't complete, he'll get violated for. People, this is wrong. And I'm here, and now I'm standing up for him. Oh, now I'm standing up for him.